UK boxing blogger coming right back at ya. This is my tribute video to the legend that is Bernard the Executioner / the Alien Hopkins. Obviously his career is cut in half for me. You've got the first career where he was the Executioner, where he was around in the mid-90s and late 90s, world champion, starting to cement his legacy, becomes the unified champion, the undisputed champion, wins great fights along the way, reaching its climax in fighting Trinidad in around 2001. That fight was a massive fight. Trinidad was a killer at welterweight, come through, collecting a couple of belts at like middleweight, took out William Joppy. He was the threat to the man, which was Bernard the Executioner Hopkins. He took him out at the end of that fight in fine style. The publicity around that event, it was mega. Bernard Hopkins then carries on, but now he's at the end of his career, so we think, he's getting like a bit of an old man type fighter at this. He's slowing down a bit. He's not quite the Executioner anymore. And then he gets in like this little tournament type to speak, where Oscar De La Hoya, or an agreement with De La Hoya, where De La Hoya steps up from like middleweight to take on Sturm for the WBO title, beats Felix Sturm in a close fight, and sets up the big fight with Oscar. And he takes Oscar De La Hoya out with one of the best body shots you'll see. But he was a much bigger man than Oscar that night. But, that's two great fighters in the ring. It is what it is. And that was a great performance. So then he goes and loses to a really quality focused young fighter in Jermaine Taylor. And they were two close fights. To be fair, some may argue that if you're like a champion like Bernard Hopkins, do you deserve to lose your crown? And especially 4 titles, the lineal championship and all 4 titles in close fights like that. I don't know. Maybe some cases that, you score round by round, that's fair enough. But in circumstances like that, when you crown a new undisputed champion with all the belts, especially with that much on the line, not even just one title on the line, you really have to take it away from that type of champion. That's my belief in a way. So, it is what it is. He lost them fights. But then that's where his career moved on from then. So I call this the second page, where he steps up, takes guys out like Tarver, the man who beat the man, Tarver. So that made him the lineal light heavyweight champion, Bernard Hopkins. 2-weight world champion at this point. Don't need to win a title. He's the lineal champion. Tarver beat the man. Sometimes you get these lineal champions that are further down the bloodline from the man who created the lineal at that time. But this was a bona fide lineal champion because Tarver beat the man, and no one would ever dispute that Roy Jones was clearly the man. So therefore Bernard beats him. Quite a shock. Then Bernard, after a very, very tight fight with Kawasaki, some again may think he won, maybe he lost. Just was a very super, super close fight between 2 super champions. Bomb. He goes and destroys Pavlik. Some people might think Pavlik's limited now, but at that point, Pavlik was a dedicated killer. Everybody was banging on about Pavlik. He's the guy who beat Jermaine Taylor twice. And won in a brutal way, and was just much physically stronger than Jermaine Taylor. And Jermaine Taylor was still in his prime at that point as well. So Bernard Hopkins schools him. So then you get to the point now where Bernard Hopkins, man, is like, I thought he was going to start tapering it down when he takes on Roy Jones. Like they're both out of their prime. It was like a nonsense fight, really. It was just like, I thought it was like a swan song fight. But no, he comes again. He beats guys like Schools Pascal for a WBC title. And Pascal was the lineal man, even though I don't agree with that. So Bernard's now the lineal man and the WBC champion. And he obviously loses it over 2 fights with Dawson, 1 being a bit of a fast, and 2, he lost that fight. Again, a close fight. I personally could understood if it went the other way, because when you look at that closely, Bernard Hopkins was never getting hit. He actually was landing the cleaner shots in that fight. Believe it or not, he was just getting put in bad positions where, Dawson was just letting hands go like you're supposed to do against Bernard. But still, arguably never clearly lost that fight to me. But he lost the fight, which I wouldn't argue against either. But then, against all odds, he comes back again. And Tavares Cloud was, he might be exposed now, but he took one hell of a boxing beating in that fight. He got schooled and brutalized, like big time. He just got bashed up, and Bernard did that. No one else for the IBF strap. Bernard did that. And then even of late, Murat, people might just diss that opponent and that, but Murat's like a strong guy, a strong European guy, you know what I mean? Still dangerous to be in there with at somebody like Bernard's age. Just absolutely dominated him, and he put him in his place. He showed what a real light heavyweight champion should do to a level fighter like that, even at his age, and he put it on him, so I was well impressed by that again. And then Bernard Hopkins beat Shumenov. Say what you want about Shumenov, but Shumenov had high-level amateur pedigree. He had power. He was a big, strong man. And nobody else has exposed Shumenov. Just Bernard Hopkins. We don't know if he comes back again. Or did he end his career by just outboxing him and manhandling and hitting him up so much? Again, that's probably another victory that Bernard Hopkins is not going to get credit for. And then against all odds, he takes on the most dangerous challenge of the division. Not only that, the most dangerous challenge of all divisions. Some fighters, right, here's just one extreme example. Most people, if Floyd's the best fighter in the world, but you're not going to be necessarily scared for your life when you get in that ring with him. Like some guys who get in the ring with Gerald McLennan, Ben in McLennan that night. I bet Ben was shitting himself. Not shitting himself where he let it eat him up. But you go in there, you better have your B's and Q's and I's and O's. Oh, fucking, you're zoned in, man. You're paying 100% attention. Because your lights go out at any second. To me, Bernard taking that fight against Kovalov represented that kind of risk, that kind of challenge. A guy at his age, brave enough to try and unify 3 of the major titles, to me, becoming the man in the division against such a killer at his age, just speaks absolute volumes for the man. So you put all that aside, and the excellent defense and the shots that he was taking, and still even getting in there with such a giant like Kovalev, who was very, very underestimated, has masterful timing and distance control, and can counter you, and he has all that power to be able to use them attributes with as well. That was a formidable foe. And Bernard's still in there 12 rounds, and still went in there trying to go toe-to-toe with him in the 11th and 12th. Unbelievable, man. Bernard Hopkins, to me, he's a great of this time, that time, and all time. He is an easy shoo-in for a top 20 fighters of all time, in my opinion. He is clearly the best of this generation, this time. Spanning back from the time in the mid-90s all the way till now, the last 20 years, Bernard Hopkins is the best fighter of this generation with no contention. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think, guys, and comment on the career of the great Bernard, the Executioner, come the Alien Hopkins. UK Boxing Blogger out.